Hi there. Welcome. I'm joined, as you can see, by my little panda friend over here, so I hope you like it. But again, welcome. This is my first video here on YouTube. I've actually never recorded anything and uploaded to YouTube, so definitely a first. But essentially, I created this YouTube page, after launching my site, where I'd love to provide, genuine, insightful guidance to, my clients and just anyone in general who may be in need of insight or feedback regarding a particular situation. I have a specialty in understanding relationships, and, in the professional world, I have a keen interest in financial literacy and credit. And so I do have a strong background in finance. So if you have any general questions regarding any of those two particular fields, I don't think I said data analytics, did I? But I'm a data analyst. But yes, so if you have a question in regards to any one of those particular industries, please feel free to ask. In addition to that, over the span of a couple of decades, I've learned a lot about fitness and nutrition. So again, I'm not a nutritionist. I don't have a certification for strength training or coaching, if you will. What's the term? A you know what I mean, right? One of those individuals who's able to help with coaching, at the fitness centers. I for the life of me, I can't remember the name or the title, but essentially, if you're looking for just a general guidance, I'd be more than happy to share what I've come across, in my lifetime, what I've learned. I'm all about paying it forward and adding as much value as I possibly can to every connection, every friend, every colleague, every individual that I happen to come across in life. I feel that it's a great way to live, and just paying it forward pays dividends, down the road. And so I'm really excited to actually have, my own YouTube page now to essentially help out anyone that comes across the particular content that I may produce. And so if you do find this of value, please feel free to share it and just pay it forward. Again, I will be sure to include links to my website and any resources that I may have available for you. And yeah, so I'm excited. I truly, truly am. So, a little backstory in regards to an email that I want to go ahead and essentially review here with you all is I connected with this individual after he reached out for a quick connect, which I currently have some availability. If you are interested, please take a look at my calendar and schedule some time. But essentially, I like to call it a coffee connect. You don't have to drink coffee if you're not a coffee drinker. Tea, water, what have you, anything is just fine. But essentially, I like to take the time to just have a quick chat to see if we're a good fit. If you have any general questions that I might be able to guide you on, and first and foremost, I do want to go ahead and also just mention that, if you do happen to have a question where I may not be knowledgeable, or I don't have any expertise or any knowledge of, I will be very frank. I'll be as candid as possible in letting you know. But in areas where I might have some experience, I'd be more than happy to share my insight and or feedback. So rest assured that I would never do anything to steer anyone wrong or provide an opinion where it might not be well grounded or have a good, solid understanding, experience, or foundation. So just keep that in mind. But so I did get a chance to connect with one of my clients here, and it looks like some development has taken place in regards to the relationship that he currently finds himself in. And so I responded via email after a request, and obviously I did ask if it was okay for me to go ahead and share just the content so that I can, go ahead and provide my insight here to everyone. So again, if you happen to find this useful, I'd be more than happy if you share it, and it's essentially anyone that might use have this as useful, please feel free to forward it as well. So, starting with the email says, "Hello again. Thanks for connecting." Oh, excuse me. Thanks for connecting over the phone. I enjoyed our brief conversation. As we discussed, I'm an executive who's had something top of mind, and I found your website among others and thought to take advantage of the quick call to see if we're a good fit. Work keeps me tied up quite considerably, and I like that you made yourself easily accessible. Thanks. Of course. Keep in mind that any emails that you may send out, respond in kind as soon as I'm able to. I do have paying clients though, so it might take me at least a business day or two, so just please keep that in mind. I could really benefit from further insight regarding a particular dating scenario I currently find myself in. I met a girl online. After brief text exchanges and getting to know each other a little bit, we both kind of got busy and never got the opportunity to set a definite date. I was just too busy and could not make plans. I definitely understand. However, a couple of weeks went by and she reached back out, which I loved, as it definitely showed some interest and initiative on her end. I definitely agree. That's always a good sign. So I do like that. I took the opportunity to make definite plans and off we went. Good. The date went well. Took her out to a couple of places and the conversation just flowed. Sounds good. She always made an effort to discuss and ask questions, and our time together just flew by effortlessly. We made out in my car and definitely had some heavy petting going on. We both wanted more, and I offered to go back to my place, but she declined due to work the next day and a couple of other things she needed to take care of. No worries, I thought. Patience pays. So far, so good. So, unattached, I agreed, walked her back to her car, and gave her another kiss and said goodbye. Sounds like a pretty good date. Don't say anything wrong. She reached back out after a couple of days, and I made plans to set the next date. We went out for dinner and afterwards had the most amazing night. Ever since that night, while I have always tended to my purpose, she has reached out and I've taken the opportunity to set the next date time after time. So it sounds pretty normal, right? You go out, you have a great time, and it looks like, there were a couple of days where there was essentially no contact between the two of you, and, she reaches out and you set the next date. It sounds pretty good to me. It's been over a month now, and I've gotten to the point where I've spent the night over a few times, and we have gone on multiple dates, all with surprises and exciting fun things for us to do. So it sounds to me like you're doing a really great job. So it sounds to me like you're actually taking the time to set definite dates and just keep her on her toes. So it's a fun experience for the both of you. So that sounds really great. She's definitely having an amazing time, and I am too. The intimacy is just incredible and gets better every single time we meet. So far, so good. I don't see anything wrong with this. Sounds great. So I'm definitely happy to hear. What I've noticed, though, is that she's the only girl I've met who really appears to have her life together, and she definitely acts like it too, which I love. Sounds good to me. I don't see anything wrong with that. She has her own place and is not needy whatsoever. As far as I know, I think she's needed to mature, though, and grow up the way that she has due to growing up with her dad leaving her mom for reasons I do not know and definitely will not ask, so as to not incite any negativity or open up a can of negative emotions. I want her to be happy and only think of the two of us in the present moment. So just something I want to add on here. I definitely do like, and if I were her, I would definitely appreciate the fact that you're not necessarily asking too many personal questions, especially within a relatively short amount of time that you've gotten to know each other. In my experience, whenever you start to talk about something very personal, such as family, especially if there's someone that is out of the picture, that can get very sensitive very quickly. And so if she hasn't already opened up and talked to you about the specific details, then I wouldn't necessarily worry too much about it. Obviously, if she decides to be open about it and provide more details, I definitely recommend taking the time to listen and engage, if you will. But if she hasn't opened up about it, definitely give her some space and time. I would have done the same thing. I wouldn't be asking too many details, or for too many details regarding something very personal too quickly. Um, when she's ready, she'll talk to you about it. Now, if she's ready and if she's willing to, I mean, totally different uh, things, right? When someone like her does not say or call me any terms of endearment, even though I always do, is that somewhat of a red flag? She definitely does not text like the average everyday girl, where she wants your attention because you've been doing all the right things. After a date, I hang back, and when she misses me, she texts, and I set the next date and get off the phone. We of course meet up as planned, and we have an amazing night. I guess I'm second guessing a little because she's so different. I feel that she's super into me, but it's only when we're together. I don't know. I've never encountered someone like her before. It's just possible that is it just possible that she has a hard time expressing her love and affection with words like I do with her? So a couple of things here that I want to touch on, because it's interesting that you say this. Reading the first paragraph here, when you mentioned that she doesn't call or say any, she doesn't use any terms of endearment when she addresses you, for example. I wouldn't necessarily say that's a red flag, but it's interesting that you pointed out. So what that really translates to is that you're showing up in a particular way and she might not be reciprocating, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's a red flag, but it may mean that you are attached to a particular idea of the way that she should be showing up, and because she's not, you're being disappointed, right? Or it's disappointing to you, I should say. And so I would definitely consider that as well. So there was another comment here that you mentioned too, that that you've essentially been engaging in a particular way. So you've been setting dates and showing up a particular way, and it sounds like she's not showing up the way that you think that she should. And I don't mean that in regards to you believing that she's now expected to show up a particular way. But what I'm saying is that it sounds like you may be attached to a certain idea based on perhaps prior experiences or relationships that you might have had, and it sounds like she's not showing up the way that you're accustomed to or what you've seen in the past. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. It could just mean that maybe she's not feeling the same level of attraction that you're feeling. And so, perhaps another idea to consider is that you may be projecting a high level of interest and she may not be reciprocating in kind. And so for that reason, it also leads to some disappointment in regards to the way that she's showing up. So it's definitely something to consider. I'm not attached to what she says or doesn't say, as her actions tell me everything when we're together, and I, of course, have never brought this up. It's a good thing that you didn't. And the reason behind it is again, it could be too much too soon, right? You said it's only been a month, and you're noticing little nuanced actions or a manner of how she's showing up, and it might be different than how you're showing up. And so it could happen both ways, male or female, right? If for example someone is invested too much into a relationship that has only just began too quickly, that might be a red flag. So it's definitely something to consider. So she's also told me she has never had a relationship that has lasted, and I asked why she thought that was. She let me know it was because of needy guys she's met who always felt a sense of entitlement towards her, like they own her and are entitled to her every minute of the day. I'm just surprised she appears to be so grounded and non-judgmental. I like that everything is effortless. My apologies. It looks like the battery. So okay, yeah. So something here that really stood out to me was that you mentioned that she's told you that her relationships haven't lasted or that they don't last. Now, I know you didn't specify, but that could potentially be a red flag. What does she mean, right? Uh, Now, let me preface with the following is that, the relationships that she's had before you are none of your business, and the relationships you've had before her are none of her business. That being said, if she mentioned that her relationships perhaps maybe tend to not last, that could be a red flag. You didn't specify, how long, or, perhaps, if it's been every really, how many relationships that she had. It just really depends, right? But that would definitely be something that I would keep in mind, is that she mentioned that, right? And so she's the common denominator when it comes to relationships, with other individuals. That might be something worth paying attention to. Now, again, if she didn't, you know, give you further insight or provide further insight, then I would just say it's spilt milk under the bridge. I wouldn't, necessarily bring this up again. I mean, if there's conversation that naturally flows into it and she provides, the information, then great. You'll be able to assess it at the time. But again, her relationships with other individuals are none of your business, and vice versa. But that's something that could potentially be a red flag. So uh, my advice is to, keep that top of mind, because that could essentially, be due to, many different reasons. It depends. If for example she has certain individual uh, shortcomings, if you will, and she hasn't gotten a chance to work on those, that could potentially be a red flag. Perhaps there could be something where down the road might be highlighted, and the relationship just won't last as a result, or it just might not be for, in your cards to be with this individual. It just really depends. What's your opinion? We are still dating, and I really do like her. Again, just like I mentioned, I'm also wondering if perhaps this may be the way she just is, and if the next question for me is whether or not I want to be with someone who loves a little differently than I do. Obviously, I know what I feel, and I have not spilled my emotions. I've always remained centered. Well, again, it's a good thing that you're remaining, centered. You're keeping your masculine frame, if you will. But what's interesting is that you're really attached to an idea, or even just your feelings in general, right? You're letting me know that, just even by writing the email, that you're really into this individual. You have a high level of attraction for her, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But because she's probably not showing up or reciprocating the same way that you're suffering in a sense. It's leading to disappointment. And so I would definitely just keep that, top of mind for sure. Just know that, realize that, and ensure that you're, staying on your purpose, right? You say you're an executive, and so, through our conversation, I learned that, you're very busy, you have a lot of things to do. So I would definitely, keep that as your, your main priority always. For anyone that's listening to this, your priority should always be aligned, right? So you should know what your number one priority is before even entertaining the idea of starting a relationship with someone. I mean, it takes two whole individuals to take part in a relationship, right? It shouldn't be that two individuals make up one. It should be two individuals who are full, right, and are happy with their lives, their mission, their purpose, that they can go ahead and, add value to each other's lives as complete people, right? And so I definitely would keep that in mind. I know what I want, and I'm just wondering if she may just be suitable to date and continue to see where things go, or if, due to her upbringing, she may have a dysfunctional idea of relationships. So the only hang up I have is her somewhat considerable lack of expressing affection, showing vulnerability, for example. It's almost as if she does not like showing affection and has a pet peeve using terms of endearment. So definitely more of what we just went over, right? Is, you're attached to a certain idea or a certain way where uh, you're kind of expecting for her to show up and she's not. But I will say that that last sentence there, where you mentioned that she has perhaps a pet peeve when it comes to terms of endearment, I would say, and I go on the limb here, that I don't think that that's necessarily normal. Um, that's a first. I've never really, you know, known anyone where, they've been in a relationship with someone and and that individual, whoever, the individual, maybe one of the individuals, where they found it annoying to be called sweet things. That to me is definitely a red flag. As far as her expressing emotion or affection, I mean, it really depends too. I mean, you've only been dating for about a month. And one thing to know is that women fall in love slowly over time. And so, it's different when it comes to men. We tend to fall in love relatively quickly. It's sad, but it's true. In my experience and just talking to a lot of individuals, most more likely than not, I mean, all it really takes is, for a really great individual that we may come across, and we like each other. Everything is effortless, like you mentioned, right? It's great. And um, unfortunately, we just tend to fall in love a lot quicker than women, at least from what I can gather. Again, I've never been in a situation like this. I'm not needy, but it's almost like I have been put in a difficult situation. What's interesting is that my work requires extensive amount of hours managing, but lately I've not been able to focus, and I feel my priorities have shifted quite a bit as a result. And again, that really goes back to what we just discussed: is your priorities should always be in order. You should be able to define them at any moment in life. And it sounds to me like you're still remaining in your center, which is great, but it just sounds like you're projecting your high level of attraction to this individual, and it's not being reciprocated from your experience or from what your expectations are. And for that reason, it's leading to disappointment, and you're suffering, right? So I would keep those in mind. I would honestly recommend ensuring that you revisit your priorities, right? I'm not saying that she may not be the one for you, but there are some red flags that we just discussed, where those might, be potential roadblocks or challenges that you may need to overcome, at a later time. So definitely consider the points that we touched on. And my main message here is just it sounds like you guys are still having a great time, right? You're more attached to a certain idea of the way that she should show up, but it sounds like everything's going great. I wouldn't change really too much or anything. I would keep these reservations to yourself, and just give it time. See where things go. It doesn't sound like you guys are having difficulty communicating, in a sense, or difficulty uh, essentially just being together. It sounds like everything is effortless, like you mentioned. But this is a person who you've probably never, the qualities that she may have, maybe qualities that you've never really encountered before. And so I think it's definitely a great opportunity for you to perhaps overcome personal shortcomings, right? If you're noticing this about yourself, that's great, right? There's room for personal growth there that really says a lot about, different angles or experiences that you perhaps might not have gotten a chance to undergo previously with other individuals. And so I would definitely encourage you to continue doing what you're doing, continue to see where things are. As always, if there are any other developments, though, or if you have any other questions, please, feel free to reach back out. I really hope that this was helpful. I really hope that it was insightful, and I look forward to hearing a success story from you. Months down the road. Please let me know if there are any developments. I really hope that this has helped, in addition to the email that I sent out to you. And to everyone watching, I really hope that, I know that the video is relatively long, but, I hope that it's helpful. I hope that, there are some gems there that you can go ahead and, pick up on. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach, out to me. I'll make sure to include all of the information down below to my my website and all my other social media platforms. Please be sure to sign up to a newsletter as well. I'll be sure to work on those and send them out in due time. I'm just very happy to be able to produce very first video. So for anyone that's interested in keeping up, as always, please feel free to tune back in, and I look forward to helping all of you. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch.